you're hitting your draws relative to expectations. So this player is more than one standard deviation above the mean at flopping 3 of a kind when he holds a pocket pair, which we call flopping a set. And that's fantastic. He's probably making lots of money when he has these pocket pairs because making a set is a very powerful hand. However, he's not going to be able to change the way he plays by knowing that he's been lucky in the past, because he may or may not continue to be lucky in the future. I also have a friend who spent lots of time building lots of reports to see if he was getting dealt aces more regularly than average. And while it's great to be dealt aces more regularly than average, and you will make lots more money if you get dealt aces more regularly than average, knowing what happened last week will not help you the next time you're sitting at the poker table. The last thing I'm going to say about Poker Tracker, and this is a little bit trickier. There are lots of statistics and lots of numbers in Poker Tracker. I think that we have easily over 1,000 different statistics you can look at, especially when you consider combinations of position. And if you add stack size to that, it's in the thousands for sure. And the problem is some are not relevant to the spot you're looking at, and some will lack a sufficient sample. So I'm going to use this hand to illustrate both of those points. This is a cash game hand from a real poker site from about 4 years ago. This player was the player hero here was on the button and was dealt ace of spades, 10 of hearts. So he had ace 10 offsuit. Before the flop, villain 16 made a raise and hero called. The flop was 2 of spades, 4 of spades, 3 of diamonds. Villain 16 made a bet and hero made a call. I'm not going to go into whether or not that was a good play. There are reasons for it. There are reasons against it. But for the purposes of this hand, it's important to know that that happened. On the turn, villain 16 also bet, and hero also called. And the turn was the 10 of diamonds. And the river was the ace of hearts. So now we have 2 pair, top 2 pair in fact. And villain 16 makes another bet. The bet was 1,550 British pounds. And the pot was 1,975 pounds. So we're sitting here, we're getting 2.27 to 1 odds. So if we call and we're ahead 31% of the time or more, it's a good call. We can fold. Our stack is 3350, so we could also make a raise to like 17, 18. Now we have lots of stats here on the table. I'm not going to go through them all. This is our heads-up display, so we're looking right now at the Poker Tracker replayer. The important ones to note for this purpose is this red number here, this 97. This is the number of hands of data we have on this player. So if you were sitting at a casino, you get about 30 hands an hour. So this would be the equivalent of about 3 hours of live play against somebody. Online, it's more like an hour and a half, because online hands tend to come a bit faster. So we've got some data. It's not a huge sample. VP is the VPIP number that was talked about last time. That's the percentage of hands he's playing. So he's been playing about 2 out of 3 hands. So he's been in a lot of pots. So we know that about this guy. And PR is pre-flop raise. That's how often he's coming in for a raise, or raising at some point in the hand. And that's 45%. So 2/3 of the time, since 45 over 65 is 2/3, roughly, he is making raises. So he's aggressive and he's playing lots of hands. And here we're in this spot where we're facing a big bet on the river. And here are so we've got his river stats. So if you click on the HUD, you're gonna get this pop up. There's a bunch of tabs here: tools, pre-flop, flop, turn, river. Since this is a river spot, I've just got the river tab open. I didn't want to overwhelm you guys yet. And we can see his bet stats. So on the river, in our entire sample, he's had 8 chances to bet the river, and he bet 3 of those chances. And I'm going to tell you that that number is completely and totally irrelevant to this situation, because we can also see this number for C-bet. Now, C-bet is a poker term. It's called a continuation bet. That means that a player has been aggressive the entire hand up till now. So C-bet on the flop, he was the last raiser pre-flop, he gets a chance to open the action on the flop, and he does. That's a flop continuation bet. A turn continuation bet, he made a flop C-bet, and he now has a chance to bet on the turn. He makes a turn bet. So that's a turn C-bet. A river C-bet is he makes a turn C-bet, and now he has a chance to bet the river. And we have never, not once, seen him get a chance to make a river C-bet. So if we tried to use this 38% here, and we said, well, he only bets 38% of the river, so he must have a really big hand here. we would be basing it on wrong information, because he could have gotten to the river in any way for these bets to count. He could have been calling down in position, and then it was checked to him, and that would count. He could have been raising. He could have raised pre-flop, checked the flop, checked the turn. That would count. Any combination. And his hand strength is going to be vastly different those times he has bet the entire way than those times where he's done other things. So since we have a sample of 0 c-bets here, these river stats are not actually that useful for analyzing this spot. You're much better off looking at the board and trying to figure out, based on his pre-flop numbers and his flop numbers, what kind of hand he gets. I could talk about this hand a lot more, but that's kind of our point here. So now we've talked about ways that you can not get better at poker using Poker Tracker. So let's get to the interesting stuff. How do you get better at poker using Poker Tracker 4? I'm going to say it's a 5-step process. Step 1. Use Poker Tracker 4's reports and filters to look at very specific kinds of decision points. Find those times you find interesting. Find those times where you don't know the answer. And those are the ones we're going to look at. You should be looking at, because those are the ones that can help you get better at poker. The next thing to do is create mental models of the players in the specific situation. So that means you should have an idea what you think those players are doing here. Now, even though you're looking at similar kinds of decision points, you're not always going to have similar kinds of players in those hands. You might be facing, if you want to look at all times you were facing a river continuation bet, you're going to have sometimes you're against aggressive players, and sometimes you're against passive players. You're going to have times where the river made a draw come in. You're going to have times where the river paired the board. All of these are slightly different, not necessarily different enough. You wouldn't want to lump them together for point 1, but enough that you need to definitely think about the players in this specific situation and try to get an idea, what's this player doing right here? And this is exactly what you would do at a live table when you're sitting across the table from somebody trying to figure out, well, what is going through his mind right now? Then you adjust that model that you've just built based on any relevant statistics that you do happen to have, if you have notes on the player or anything else. If you know that this guy lost a big hand 2 hands ago, and he might be what's called in the poker world steaming. He is really mad, and he is just going to be way more aggressive right now. That's relevant information. If you're sitting in a casino and you know that guy has just finished his 5th beer and he's slurring his words a little bit, that's relevant information. Anything that you can do to adjust the model that you've built to be more relevant, that's good. Then you evaluate your different decision options. So if you're in a spot where you can let's say you can just either call or fold. You have to think about what kind of hand does he have? What will I win if I make a call here? If I fold, obviously I'm out of the hand. For tournaments, what chip stack will I have remaining? How does this affect everyone else's standings in the tournament? There's a lot of considerations for tournaments that affect especially your pre-flop decisions. And then, once you've done all 4 of these things, go to step 1 and do it again. Continue to do this over and over again every time you have an interesting kind of decision, and you will find that you are able to make better decisions because you understand the different decision points that you're making. So let's talk about how to navigate Poker Tracker 4 a little bit. For those of you who have it installed and have your computer here, feel free to open up Poker Tracker and follow along with me. So what I'm calling a report is any kind of way in which Poker Tracker is showing you data. On the top left here is community, which launches our community page. You can look at our forums, you can download custom stats, all sorts of other fun stuff. Play Poker, this is where you go when you want to actually play. So for those of you who haven't actually done any importing in any of the tournaments yet, when you want to play, you go to Play Poker and you click the Get Hands While Playing button. And View Stats here, this is where all of your information is going to be displayed. T is for tournaments, which is going to be all you guys are interested in, and we have 4 options: results, statistics, my reports, and graphs. And I'm not going to talk about graphs today at all, just because there really isn't enough time. So there's this left-hand sidebar here, and some people have liked closing it to make things bigger, and you should not forget that it is there. A lot of the navigation options are in that sidebar, and there's a huge amount of value in being able to change reports. So right now we're looking at the overview report. It's got a nice graph. You can change different kinds of graphs. You can show your ROI, your IPM, your ROI is return on investment, IPM is in the money percentage. You can show those on this graph too. You can see, your results, how much you won, how many tournaments you've played, and down here, this is a report. Right now we're looking at the basic by description report, which is shows